The New York Islanders won 2 games in a row for the first time this season with some very good signs, but also some reason for concern. We'll discuss both and preview this weekend's game against the Devils. All that and more on today's Locked On Islanders podcast.
You're Locked On Islanders, your daily podcast on the New York Islanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to the Friday edition of the Locked On Islanders podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you get new episodes as soon as they drop. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. A big win for the New York Islanders against the Ottawa Senators. Wasn't easy, but nothing is easy for this team. Overall, the positives outweigh the negatives, but, there were some great signs in this game and also some familiar problems which the team still needs to address. But let's start with the fact that the New York Islanders, for the first 2 periods of this game, they played solid, smart hockey. And look, they didn't dominate. I'm not going to say, oh yeah, the Islanders were clearly the better team for 60 minutes. No, they weren't. But they didn't make too many boneheaded plays. They were efficient. They were working hard. They were staying out of the penalty box for the most part and just playing the type of game they need to play, especially on the road, in order to be effective and win the hockey game. Got to give a lot of credit to Semyon Varlamov, who made 28 saves in this game. And when the Islanders did make mistakes, Varley was there to clean it up and get the job done. I liked what I've seen from certain players. I mean, you look at the 3 goal scorers. Let's leave the empty net goal by Bo Horvat off the table for the moment. You look at the 3 goal scorers, and I think it really speaks volumes about this team and the way some of these guys who have been struggling are starting to pick their games up. And that is encouraging. Look, first goal of the game by the Islanders, Anders Lee. That's his 4th goal of the year. Lee is playing on a line with Bo Horvat and J.G. Pageau. That is the temporary top line. And I would say it this way. If Patrick Waugh is determined to keep Nelson, Siplikov, and Palmieri together, Horvat, Lee, and Pageau is probably the best combination that he could put together on the first line. You want to argue Oliver Wahlstrom maybe as an alternative or Casey Cizikas. I get it, but I think that Pageau adds a little speed to the line. Horvat and Lee can score goals. And I think what we've seen recently, I would say in the last 4 or 5 games especially, since Anthony Duclair got hurt and Anders Lee has seen his role increase, we have seen him pick up his game and play better hockey. And that is huge for the New York Islanders. Pageau now also has 4 goals. And again, you want a little more offense. Last year, 11 goals all year for J.G. Pageau. Here we are, right now, 14 games in, and he has 4 goals. He's on a pace that is better than where he was last year. I think he's healthier. And again, the assists on that goal, Horvat and Lee. You're seeing some chemistry starting to develop with that top line, the new top line. And then the third goal, finally, the fourth line comes up with a goal at even strength. And better yet, who gets the goal? Oliver Wahlstrom. I mean, it is hard not to root for Wally. You could make the argument that he's had enough chances and he doesn't, shouldn't be there, or he's not a good fit on the fourth line. And, I think you can make a solid case for both of those, but I think it's also hard, and based on his personality, based on the adversity he's gone through, and based on the fact that he's just a likable guy, you just can't help but root for Oliver Wahlstrom. And it was great to see him pick up a goal, and it was a goal scorer's goal, and it was just a great play. That was encouraging. The fact that, the Islanders were able to play 40 minutes of really solid hockey was great. And Isaiah George, I got to say, two things about Isaiah George from the first, from this game. Even though he was a -1 ultimately, he was on the ice for 23:59, so 24 minutes on ice. He was paired for much of the game with Noah Dobson. And I think the fact that Isaiah George is so positionally sound has really actually helped Noah Dobson a little bit. Now, Dauber didn't figure in the scoring, but I just think that the fact that he knows that Isaiah George knows where to be, that if Dauber makes a mistake, George will at least be in the right place to cover his own guy. I just think it's been a nice duo to put together, even though I myself was skeptical at first. It's almost like playing with a rookie, only playing a second NHL game, kind of forced Noah Dobson to be a little bit more responsible. Now, Dauber did have 3 giveaways in this game. So did Isaiah George. But again, George was solid. He had 4 blocked shots, which tied him for the team lead. And again, is he spectacular? No, he's not flashy. He's not making end-to-end rushes. That's not what he does. But smart, steady, good skater. He is doing the things he needs to do to show he belongs. And you could see by the ice time he was given in what is just his second career NHL game that Patrick Roy is growing much more comfortable having him out on the ice than Dennis Cholowski, than Grant Hutton, certainly than Samuel Bolduc. And, look, did George not, he made some mistakes. He tried to make a move in the third period where he skated into the zone down the left side and tried to beat one, maybe even 2 guys one-on-one. And, I tweeted at that moment, yeah, that move may work in juniors and maybe in the AHL, but it doesn't really work often in the NHL. And George will learn that. But at least he got back, and there was no, major problem with the way that play unfolded. And again, it's a learning experience. So happy with Isaiah George, and just the way the Islanders played for 40 minutes was just encouraging. Scott Mayfield, by the way, I have to mention this. Finished the game with an assist. He assisted on the Bo Horvat goal. He was a +4 in this game. Now, the Islanders only scored 4 goals. So Scott Mayfield was out on the ice for all 4. Excuse me. For all 4 goals. And basically, wasn't on the ice for the even strength goal that Ottawa scored. So I love this game through 40 minutes. The Islanders were up 3-0, just 2:41 into the third period, and it seemed like everything was great. And then some of the same old problems came up for this New York Islanders team. We're going to discuss those problems, and thankfully they were able to overcome those issues and still win the game. But we'll talk about that. We'll have our hero and GOAT of the game, and we will also preview the game Saturday night at home against the Devils for our Islanders' birthday of the day. A former New Jersey Devil who also played for the Islanders, served as their captain, and is now a GM in the NHL. And by the way, he was with the Islanders in the late 2000s. So let's see if you can guess who it is. And he also has won 2 Stanley Cups. I think this is an easy one, but let's see who gets it with that. So all that and a lot more still to come on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Hims. Guys, your sex life is important, but your schedule is busy. You don't have time to go to a doctor's office to get treated for ED. Through Hims, you can get a personalized ED treatment without stepping foot outside your door. Hims is changing men's health care by providing access to affordable sexual health treatments from the comfort of your couch. Hims provides access to a range of doctor-trusted ED treatments like chewable hard mints and Viagra and Cialis and their generics for up to 95% cheaper. The process is 100% online, so there's no need for uncomfortable doctor's visits. No insurance is needed, and one low price covers everything from treatments to ongoing care. With hundreds of thousands of trusted subscribers, Hims can help you find the ED option that works for you. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/lockedon. That's HIMS.com/lockedon for your personalized ED treatment options. hims.com/lockedon. The products mentioned are chewable compounded products which are not approved by or verified for safety or effectiveness by the FDA. Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan. Today's episode is also brought to you by Game Time. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks, and that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. One of my favorite features on the Game Time app is the view from your seat. You go on the app and you can get a panoramic view from the seat that you want to purchase before you actually buy the tickets. That way you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. So while the first 2 periods, smooth sailing for the most part, Islanders, smart road hockey, up 2-0, quickly up 3-0 early in the third, and then the same old started to creep back into the Islanders game. And I got to admit, it's a cause for concern. Why? Well, look, this is a veteran team, and a veteran team should know better than to go into a shell or to take their foot off the gas and be satisfied with the lead, especially on the road and especially against an Ottawa Senators team that has some talented players that can make you pay if you let up. And look, Nick Jensen ends up scoring, and then the Islanders take a really, really foolish penalty. Maxim Siplikov called for boarding Claude Giroux. It was a 2-minute minor. It could have almost been a major because it really was A, unnecessary, and B, ugly. And yet, the penalty kill, been a problem all year long, gives up the goal. Drake Batherson left all alone in front. Earlier in the game, another issue that we saw, Islanders on the power play. Simon Holmstrom takes a tripping penalty, just nullifies the power play 46 seconds in, ends up giving Ottawa eventually a power play. Now, that was in the first period, not in the third, but it is included in the list of the same old problems that this team has had. And all of a sudden, in the third period, the Islanders were struggling to get the puck out of their own zone. And they were blowing defensive assignments. And everyone on social media was like, here we go again. Here are same old Islanders making the same old mistakes. And you almost could see the players themselves thinking, here we go again. This isn't good. What are we doing wrong? And thankfully, Semyon Varlamov playing well, able to bail them out, made some big saves until Bo Horvat put the puck into the empty net, and the Islanders end up with the 4-2 win. You win in regulation. You beat the team in Ottawa that, probably will be battling for one of those final playoff spots. It's a 4-point swing. And again, you just like to see that kind of performance when all is said and done. Now, this team still needs to stop making the same old mistakes. You got to play a 60-minute game. And keep in mind, I understand that playing a 60-minute game does not mean that you are the dominant team for all 60 minutes of the hockey game. This is the NHL. The other team is talented. The other team gets paid too. You are not going to dominate. There's going to be back and forth and little problems and moments where the other team puts pressure on. It's not that. It's taking dumb penalties. It's taking your foot off the gas. It's all of a sudden, after clearing your zone pretty well for most of the game, forgetting how to get the puck out of your own zone. It's the little things. It's the penalty kill coming up empty again. These things, this is a veteran team. You would think they know better at this point. They have to sort of, straighten some of these things out before they come back and bite them in the rear end. Because let's face it, Ottawa is a pretty good team, but you do this against, Florida, or you do this against, one of the elite teams, Winnipeg, Edmonton, you're going to pay. And you're not going to win the game. More often than not, you're going to leave those valuable points on the table. As far as hero and go to the game are concerned, let's start with the GOAT. I'm going to give it to Siplikov for that really bad penalty that ended up resulting in the power play goal by the Senators. Look, he didn't play a terrible game. He did have 5 hits, but he also had 2 giveaways, the 2 penalty minutes, and did not figure in the scoring. So nominally, barely, I'm going to give it to Siplikov because that penalty, to me, encapsulated so much of what this team does wrong in these kind of situations. As far as hero of the game, I could go with Scotty Mayfield for being a +4. I could go with Bo Horvat for a goal and 2 assists. But, that goal was an empty netter. I got to go with Varley. 28 saves facing out of 30 shots, some of them really big in the third period. And keep in mind, Varlamov had not played in a week. And trust me, when I tell you it is not easy for a goalie to stay sharp when they're playing 1 out of every 3 or 4 games and they haven't played in a week, and you travel up to Ottawa and, you've got to go up against a skilled team like the Senators, and be sharp because they're going to test you. So I'm giving Varley my hero of the game. Overall, a really good effort. The good outweighed the bad. And this kind of a game is what the Islanders need to do to win without Barzal, without Duclair, without three of their top six defensemen. And by the way, just as an update, Alexander Romanov still not skating on his own. So yeah, he's day to day, but day to day, almost certainly he's not going to play Saturday. Okay. And we don't know when he's going to be ready, but it's going to be at least another game or two minimum, I would think. Even if he starts skating Friday or Saturday, I don't see him playing until next week at the earliest. I hope we get good news on Romanov and on Riley and really on the whole team as far as some of these injuries are concerned. We have got more to get to on today's show. Islanders, Devils, last home game before a 5-game road trip. Can the Islanders make it 3 in a row? Well, we'll preview that game. We'll have that and our Islanders birthday of the day still to come on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by your friends at FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more, all on the same page where you place your bets. Islander fans, check out the odds for Saturday's game against the New Jersey Devils. Use your knowledge of the Islanders to your advantage at FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com to get started today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Thank you for making Locked On Islanders your first listen today. For your second listen, find Locked On Fantasy Hockey. Become a fantasy hockey expert and get the edge over your league mates with daily tips from Steal and Flip. Find Locked On Fantasy Hockey on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Saturday, Islanders, Devils, division matchup, second meeting between these two teams. Here we are, early part of November. We've already played two, or we will have by Saturday, played two of the 3 games against the New Jersey Devils. Devils, by the way, have won 4 of their last 5, so they're starting to get into a groove. They are 9-5-2, so they had a really hot start, kind of cooled off for a few games in the middle, and now back on the winning track. And by the way, 2 of those last 3 wins have been shutouts. They blanked Vancouver and Edmonton, both on the road. Both of those teams are more than capable of scoring. For the Devils, it's been offense. They're 3rd in the league in goals scored, but 19th in goals allowed. Now, again, they've played more games than most other teams. They've played 16 games already. The big difference this year compared to last is the goaltending. Jacob Markstrom is the starter. He has basically started 10 out of the 15 games. Jake Allen has played in 5, and, they're roughly equal statistically. Markstrom, a .262 goals against average, a .907 save percentage. Allen, .260 goals against average, .904 save percentage. Special teams, both really solid. The power play 5th at 30.4% success rate. The penalty kill 9th, 83.3% success rate. So obviously the Islanders need to stay out of the box because the Devils can make you pay. Nico Hischier, 4 power play goals already, and Jesper Bratt has 6 assists on the power play. Heeshire, 10 goals already through 15 games. Stefan Nason and Timo Meier and Paul Cotter each have 6. This team has been putting pucks in the net. Heeshire, Meier, and Dawson Mercer are the top line. Jack Hughes, Andre Palat, and Jesper Bratt are the second trio. Eric Huala, Paul Cotter, and Nason making up the third line. And then Justin Dowling centers Curtis McDermott and Tomas Tatar on the fourth unit. On defense, Dougie Hamilton and Brendan Dillon are the top pair. Jonas Siegenthaler and Jonathan Kovacevic are the second unit. And Luke Hughes and Brett Pesce are the third pairing. And boy, that is a deep blue line, something they have lacked in recent years. Jacob Markstrom and Jake Allen, as we mentioned, are the goaltenders. And right now, Nathan Bastian, Curtis Lazar, and Santeri Hataka are out with injuries. Islanders, look, they managed to win last time against the Devils, but it wasn't easy, and they ended up, giving up a lead, but winning in OT. It is time to actually put the Devils, beat them and pick up 2 more points. Again, you want this team right now to end up 500 or better until everybody gets healthy again. You pick up a point or 2 against a quality opponent like the Devils, that goes a long way toward meeting that goal. And let's hope the New York Islanders are able to do that. More importantly, even than winning, perhaps, is to continue to play well. But boy, 3 wins in a row would go a long way for this hockey team. And let's face this. Islander fans, everydayers, you have watched this team. They are good enough to put together some of these win streaks. And just when you think that they've got it all figured out, they slump. And just when you think they're terrible and they lose, 5 out of 6, then they put together the win streak. Let's get some consistent play here, and then the wins will take care of themselves. Time now for our Islanders' birthday of the day. And Saturday will be the 54th birthday of former Islanders forward Bill Guerin, the Wilbraham, Massachusetts native, first-round pick, 5th overall by the Devils back in 1989. Spent 2 years at Boston College, made his NHL debut with New Jersey back in 91-92. Won a Stanley Cup with the Devils in 1995, scored 30 goals for the Oilers in 1998-99, 41 goals for his hometown team, the Boston Bruins, in 2001-2002, also played for the Dallas Stars, the Blues, the Sharks, and then he signed as a free agent with the Islanders in 07-08, scored 23 goals and 44 points that year. Followed it up with a 16-goal, 36-point effort in 08-09 before getting traded to the Penguins, where he won another Stanley Cup. And he did really help that team. Now, presently, a general manager in the NHL. He played in 1,263 NHL games, 429 goals, 856 points, 1,660 penalty minutes. Add 39 goals and 74 points in 140 playoff games. And as I mentioned, 2 Stanley Cups. His best game as an Islander, how about October 18th, 2007? Islanders visiting our nation's capital against the Washington Capitals. Rick DiPietro in goal for the Islanders. Olaf Kolzig, the goalie for the Caps. And after one period, it was 1-0 Islanders, but then in the second, Islanders on the power play, and it was Bill Guerin, our Islanders' birthday of the day, making it 2-0. Chris Campoli and Brian Berard with the assists, but the Capitals tie it at 2, and then the Islanders take a 3-2 lead on a power play goal by Brian Berard, and Bill Guerin with the clinching goal, his second of the game. Campoli and Berard again, the assist. It's on the power play, and Guerin closes out the scoring with 1.5 minutes to go, roughly. Mike Comrie and Chris Campoli with the assists. Islanders down the Capitals 5-2. For Bill Guerin, his only hat trick as an Islander. He was a +1. 2 of the goals on the power play, and he had 4 shots on goal in 15 minutes and 46 seconds of ice time. Bill Guerin is our Islanders' birthday of the day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Everydayers, we will be back Monday. We will have our key takeaways from the Islanders game Saturday against the Devils, and we'll start to look ahead to the not West Coast, but a Western Canada road trip that will include stops in Edmonton, Vancouver, Seattle, Calgary, and Detroit. If you have something Islanders related on your mind, if you have a question, a comment, maybe a topic you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, email us at lockedonislanders@gmail.com. If you leave your first name and where you're from, we're happy to mention you on the show when we discuss whatever's on your mind. You can follow the show on X at Locked On Isles, and you can follow me, Gil Martin, on X at Ice Wars, NYR, VSNYI. We'll keep you up to date on all things Islanders all year long, and I am live tweeting during nearly every Islanders home and road game, so join me for some instant insight and analysis, and it's great to talk Islanders hockey with you, game time or anytime. Have a great weekend, everybody. Stay safe. And of course, let's go Islanders.